this? I don't know if I can make it bigger or not.
No, it's, I can read.
That's pretty good.
All right. So Imagemagick. It's a command line tool that you can use to manipulate pictures and images.
I had to use it once.
Yeah, my main use is resizing images.
That's
for
what I
web
used
use.
it for.
So I was able to throw it into a script, and it goes through and shrinks the quality and the size of the picture. So it's really nice on it. So you go from like, you know, at the time it was a 3 megapixel cameras I was using, and it went from, you know, the pixel size was like 2,000 by 3,000, down to 800 by 600. And you could tell it to do, like, the way I use this script is I would just drag the script into the folder, double click it, and it went through and resized all the images in that folder. And then I could easily put them into a web page. So as you can see here, what this does is if it detects whether the picture's landscape or portrait style, and then it runs it either the command either way. Although I think the new version of Imagemagick does it anyways.
There's a way to do it.
There's an option for it.
To do what?
If you say always make 800 by 600, then it will skew some of the pictures.
Right, I was going to ask about maintaining aspect, because when I resized, I made everything 720p, but I kept my aspect ratio and manually did each one.
Oh yeah, well that's what this does. Is it detects it finds identify the format, the height and the width of the picture, and then it decides whether to convert it by one way or the other. Yeah. And as you can see, the convert is the command that we're using here as part of Imagemagick. Convert, resize, then the size of the picture, and then what it does is it prepends small to the picture, to the file name. Now I had issues where some of the pictures that were sent to me had spaces in them. So I put together another script that strips out the spaces. And
couldn't you
right
just
here in the board, right? On the picture name.
Couldn't you have just put the quotes before the S in small, and it should have been okay?
Yeah, but it sucks to have spaces in file names when you're trying to manipulate them.
Well, you're talking about right here in the script.
Yeah, if you would have put the quote before the S.
Even that would support spaces in the file name. It just, I think, it just
No,
sucks.
what was it doing is up here in find.
in general.
Yep.
Whenever there was a space, it took the two separate and tried to make them do it as separate files.
That's because you're using the back quotes. You'd have
it's
to put, make sure that the individual things, or get,
single quote?
or it would be find minus name, after JPEG, minus exec, brace, which will put the whole name as a single entity / semicolon, and then put like sh script name that would actually process it, you know, brace.
Okay.
Or you can actually, you know, you can actually collect that as a, well, I don't know, that you're using the do everything there, but I mean that's the way to do that.
Or you could do a find, just type it into while read. You know, and the find will find all of them, and then the read will give you the file name, and then you can just manipulate that first before you do the picture.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, it's,
that would be.
There's a million ways to do it.
Actually, that would be the way to do it. And my lack of scripting skills.
That's okay.
These are.
oh, this is pretty cool the way you've done this. This is really good. It's a very simple.
Quite simple, yeah.
Yeah.
So the way I use it is I have a set of pictures in the folder, and I have this. We have to make sure it's executable, obviously.
When you drop the script in, is it not executable?
No, it's because I use OnCloud to sync my some of the
You use what?
that doesn't come
OnCloud? Yeah, the scripts, it's...
Yeah, so I'm sure there's an option in there and tell it to not do that. I haven't looked into it yet.
I never, ever run scripts like, but just because I'm a command line guy, I mean, never.
Same here.
I never think of dropping things into folders
No.
and clicking on them to run them.
Yeah, I know,
It's foreign to me.
Yeah,
It works the same either way, right?
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's just, if I'm running a shell script, I want it to be at a
Well,
shell.
It
Well, then you gotta bring the GUI up, right, to get to it, to click on it, so.
Yeah, but if you're playing with images, you probably want to see them anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you already have the GUI up because
Right.
you've been.
Yeah. But you'll see during my talk, we spent a lot of time at the command line launching the image viewer. Where he's got his image viewer right there.
And it would help to have Imagemagick installed for it to run.
SC do,
Ah.
or SC minus S.
Oh, what was that?
Install.
Install.
Is it? No.
And they will
Try
look
it
at-
with a K on the end, I think.
Yeah, it's got a K on
Or we have a decent one, say image,
I see.
MAG, and type tab.
I don't-
Let me
That doesn't
find-
work, because it's not a file on the local.
No, well, it depends how
Huh?
smart. It works
Oh,
actually on, it works on.
Tab
Raspberry
completion
Pi.
will work in ways you would.
Does it for?
Script.
So I just found
Yeah.
that it works with SCP on the remote system.
Oh, yeah.
On the remote system?
On the remote system.
Yeah.
Yes.
On the remote system?
Yeah, I just-
You mean I've been cutting and typing all these years that it works on the remote system?
It does.
It has for quite a while.
It does. Hey, I just discovered it last month, so I.
But I
There you go,
retired,
Imagemagick.
it doesn't make any difference to me anymore.
Look at all that crap it's gonna load.
So what was the name of the package then?
Imagemagick with a CK.
How does it do that?
Oh, CK.
Because you have the user ID.
If you can, if it has your private key on the other
Oh,
remote
exactly,
system.
right, because in these cases it does.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and it's, okay.
Or
Wow.
does it?
So by default, this package is not installed.
So how many people are installing it right now over the library network?
I've
Yeah.
already got it on mine.
How many of you are
Wow, there's
using
a
the router?
I'm using your router.
I'm using the
This
library.
Library one.
I don't know, well, mine just connected with full strength, so it must be yours. Yeah, mug,
Yep.
yep.
Is it a 5 gigahertz router?
It's a 2.4.
Wait.
It's the one that I just replaced, so.
Yeah.
Well, I have an open WRT with connected to a, one of these commercial
That's cool.
5 gig,
Oh, I know
ingenious
why.
5 gigahertz, 2 gigahertz, and then I just
Still
use the
not
2
run?
gigahertz, 2.4 to link to what the
No, I'm
hotel or
logged in
wherever I'm at,
through.
Yeah.
and then use 5 for everything.
I was SU'd as root. So my pictures obviously weren't in the root.
No, it'd be /home/ whatever your name
There we
is.
go.
Tony.
So it goes through
Look at
and
that
takes
they go.
each of them, and you can see here it's how it's creating, and so it doesn't destroy the originals. It goes through and creates separate ones.
If you run it
And
recursively, will it
for
make
18
small dash small?
Yeah, it does. If I run it again, it'll
But you
do them all
can do
again.
that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do it. It
Filter that
doesn't
out.
make any changes at this point because it's already 800 by 600. It doesn't make them smaller.
You could
And does
upgrade this
Imagemagick
script
complain
to
if you use the same
recommend
min file,
that.
the same, no, it would actually call it small dash, so you'd end up with a small.
I would
dash.
probably
Small dash, small
manipulate the
dash.
script so that put them in a
You
separate.
could also
folder.
have them
Small
sent to a
dash,
different
small,
folder.
Reprocess them again and.
Huh?
You could have them sent to a different folder, so you,
That's what
even
I
if you
do.
run it multiple times, it'll still just overwrite the files in the other
Correct.
folder
Yeah.
rather than.
Yeah.
Right, or you could filter it out in the script too at the
Yeah,
beginning.
I'd run them in a
This was
separate
this was
folder.
something that was just quick and easy for me to throw together
Sure.
for what my purpose was. So it changes from, like, this image is now 120K, where previously it was 500, almost
Wow.
500K.
Yeah, about a fourth the size.
So yeah, it's about a 75% reduction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a little more if you drop the image quality, if you're using
Sure.
thumbnails.
Right. Yeah, and, yeah. And you can see
Well,
it
but
still
you were
comes
trying
out.
to
Bring up the other
thumbnails.
one, click on the other one too and see what it looks like.
You weren't really looking for thumbnails, you just wanted a smaller version of it that you could.
Yeah, because
Right.
these things are print quality.
No.
The original.
because- Have
These-
you got Justin
actually, these are off
Verlander's
of my-
picture in this there?
Yeah.
These are off of my phone, so they're really not all that great pictures to begin with. But if we go back to
How'd
this
you
one-
transfer from your phone to,
See, that's, hold on, this is the resized, and this is the original.
Okay.
And
So you can see
actually,
somewhat of a difference, but this is 33% of the size, where the other was at full screen, or full
Yeah.
size.
100%.
Oh, I
Yeah.
got you. Where the other one's 100% of the.
Or no,
like
actually, this is at
600.
57 still.
How'd you transfer from your phone to your machine?
OwnCloud.
Oh.
OwnCloud is, I
I
think it's
used,
awesome. I have, it's an automatic image, or his automatic, every time you take a picture, it uploads to my OwnCloud. And then I have my laptop and my desktop syncing my OwnCloud back down.
So you have access.
And so.
I use KDE Connect.
Cloud.
Like
It
like
runs
my
on
own cloud.
Lamp
Yeah.
I use
And it has
KDE
clients.
Connect, and that was cool.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
But that would just connect your phone right to your laptop, right?
Yeah.
Where OwnCloud does automatic syncing in the background,
Mm.
and now that this one picture is now in 4 different places.
Can't you plug your phone into your laptop and just access?
No,
pictures
it
anyways?
doesn't work.
I had a guy last night that
What
just
kind
tried
of
that with a
phone do you have?
tablet and it didn't work either.
I can do it with my iPhone,
Okay.
which really seems weird.
I think
'cause
Android.
It seems like Android would be natural. to
It
do
does. It
Yeah.
does. I
Every
have no
Android
problem
device
putting
I
my
have
phone in
whacked
it.
as a drive. If you may have to set something else up in it.
Oh.
Or you can use something
It has
like
to be
ES
on-
Downloader
it has to be on the SD
and
card.
create a Wi-Fi. You can turn your Android thing into an FTP server.
Yeah.
Windows, SMB, Samba client or a server or any of a bunch of
The
things.
KDE Connect, I think, is similar to an FTP server.
So, and another way to use Imagemagick is with video editing,
Oh, cool.
where this is a presentation I saw a few years ago at Ohio Linux Fest.
Oh.
And as you see, he's from Kitchener, Ontario. But what he does a combination of FFmpeg and Imagemagick to go through and do effects on the video that he wants to use. And if you go about 3/4 of the way down, you can see part of his script. I think this is it. A little further down. Here, where he takes he wants to fade out the end of the video, and he uses Imagemagick where he says take the last 100 frames, and then he uses Imagemagick to gradually do what is it called, the fading or the
Oh. Okay.
Phil White draw, gravity center. Gravity, I think, is what that is. So it goes through and does the fade out for him. And 90 frames is about 3 seconds of video. So he goes through and
Oh, yeah,
let me
30
pull this up.
frames.
30 frames a second.
Yeah, about 30 frames a second.
So the last
He
2
also-
seconds fade out as it's still going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so he can do fade in, fade out, all from the command line. And using these scripts that he set up. He also he made it where he has a logo, and using Imagemagick, he positioned it so the logo would spin and then fade and then sit as like a watermark in the bottom
I've seen
corner.
that on others.
And he did that all with Imagemagick and FFmpeg.
Huh.
I think he uses FFmpeg to break out into frames, individual frames, and then
There's a similar one for the Raspberry Pi where they, like for the weather, they can put the temperature or GPS coordinates or whatever else on the bottom of the video as like a watermark.
oh yeah, that's cool. So I'll send this the link to this presentation to the
Oh, cool.
mailing list. But it's really cool. I was trying to look through what he has a lot of examples of the actual scripting. I was trying to see where his example of his video is. And I can't read it from over here. But I couldn't find the video, but in his presentation he was giving, he was playing it up on the screen, and it was a lot of cool stuff.
This was some guy that you just went to a presentation on this, or?
At Ohio Linux Fest, he was doing the presentation, and so I just stopped in and was watching him do it, and
Cool.
thought it was cool, yeah.
That's cool.
Yes, I'm looking at the Wikipedia for this, and it's a list of various features, and there must be like 40 of them. different things. Like you were mentioning, you could take some, overlapping and then scripting for various pieces of stuff, and just amazing what it can do.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty
As
cool.
well as, when you select the downsizing, you have all kinds of control over what type of color representation, what type of palette you're selecting, and that type of.
Yeah.
I wonder if this works with libAV since Ubuntu doesn't have FM and PEG.
I'm sure you'd have to adjust the script, but I'm sure it'll do a lot of the same things. So that was my part of it, the presentation. Do we want to look at how bad my scripting was again, or?
You did a good job.
There was
right?
nothing wrong
Just-
with your script.
Other ways to do it, that's all.
No, in fact, it was
Yeah.
clearly written that any of the changes we mentioned would easily be implemented.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna go ahead and keep working on this, and eventually we'll have these really slick videos that you can use for the Mug website, right?
Well, actually, yeah, it's possible. But the thing is, there's so many other ways to do it. Now, this script I used about 5 or 6 years ago. And then now, using CMSs instead of doing straight HTML pages, they have resizing capabilities right in the CMS.
Yeah, as you upload the file,
Yeah,
Oh.
so I use WordPress, and it'll resize it right in the middle of as you're uploading. And so I actually haven't used this in a long time. But the video thing is still very plausible. It looks really cool. But, all right.
It's great.
And then-
Thank you. So let's see what happens if we plug this thing in. Let's see.
Pretty cool.
See that guy that was heading to Livonia? He doesn't know what he's missing.
Yeah.
Either one of you had started to talk, he would have been so lost.
By the way, if you guys are looking for internet access, we have our own router. It's available under MUG, M-U-G, and the password is MUG meeting, all one word.
So what's the difference between that and does it just grab the library, or?
The difference is that you have WPA2 unquote instead of what the library gives you, which is no security whatsoever, and you don't have to go to a landing page.
All right, so.
And the receptor's a lot closer, so you got a little stronger signal strength.
Yeah. So, like Tony, I'm not big on slides tonight. This is my slide.
Slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I use the term really, really loosely. Imagemagick, the website, is something that's quite amazing. We'll go there in a sec. There's also 2 other links for options, which there's a link off their website, obviously. And geometry is very important. So we're going to go to the Imagemagick site. And that fits all right. Okay, the Imagemagick site is huge. There's a ton of information on here. It's very easy to get lost. But the very, very important page you want to go to is this options page. Okay, Gib was saying something about like
Oh my
40
God.
things you can do.
Holy cow.
Okay, I don't know how many are there. I think it's more than 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like any image processing tool, if you're not into image processing, most of the stuff doesn't mean anything to
Yeah,
you.
it doesn't make sense.
Right? Like GIMP. You ever try using GIMP? Every time I use it, I have to relearn it. And
It's frustrating.
And I swear I've come up with like 9 different ways to resize images. And all the other things I try to do in GIMP. Well, Imagemagick can do that and more. And you want to resize something? There's a, let's see, resize option. If I click on that, it'll take me to that information. It's all one, you normally say long page.
Sure.
And these things are just links, references within that page. So I wanted to show you guys the couple hundred things it can do. Just
We don't need that much time.
briefly, yes, yes. We don't have time to show you all those, but I do want to show you. So since I plugged in, my resolution's all goofed up here. I'll be all right. So there's several things I want to show you guys tonight. I'm going to start with the basics. And the basics are, let's see, I'm going to get rid of these. Let's see what I want to do. I'm going to get rid of those. I got a script here that does a couple of simple things. One of the great things about Imagemagick is you can convert pretty much any image format to any other image format. Okay, I've got this file called om.png, and I need it in GIF format, GIF format, for whatever reason.
GIF, yeah.
Okay, convert input file, output file. All right, convert it to JPEG, input file to output file. That's all you got to do. One of the things I find a little bit odd about Imagemagick is they've kind of taken the word convert as one of their commands. And to me, convert is too generic for one program to steal and to commandeer, right? There's a lot of other things you might think convert would do.
Sure.
Should be IM underscore convert or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, right?
They're very early.
Or
so
it should be, yeah, they were probably very early.
It
So
should be Imagemagick space convert.
yeah, like convert would be a sub-command of Imagemagick or something. Anyway, they were there first. They got it when nobody else did. So it's just what we live with, right? There's also other commands within Imagemagick. Identify is one that Tony showed. That'll tell you, what does that tell you? Information about the image?
The same stuff you see in properties kind of thing?
Yeah, we can even play with it a little bit here. Identify, right. It's a PNG. It looks like resolution is 242 by 313. 8-bit pseudo class, blah blah blah. Right. Let me show you what the my input image is. Right. It's just one of the XKCD. I picked a random XKCD image. Yeah, I'm using EOG as the viewer. When Tony clicked on an image in the web browser, it launched EOG. It's GNOME's image viewer. Right? I used to always be in the habit of launching GIMP when I want to view an image, but that carries
That's overkill.
Yeah, GIMP. Oh, right. And then we wait.
Yeah, for all.
And we wait. And it opens up 4 different panes,
Yeah.
and then it shows the image, right? Fine. Okay. Anyway, that's my input image. And when you go to close it, you got to close the right one so that everything closes. And I usually don't close the right one.
It's just like Windows when you open something in Word or Excel or PowerPoint, and then it spins there and shows the word and then sits there for 15
The splash screen, yeah, all that stuff. Well, EOG is fast, that's why I use it.
Sure.
And I'm sure there's other faster ways, but that's just, that comes installed on the system, so I
Most
use it.
browsers will
Even for
display
PDFs.
images directly.
I'm sorry?
Most browsers will.
Yeah, it's like events for PDF.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so that's how you can easily convert from one format to another. Right? Doesn't change anything else about the document, doesn't, or the image, it doesn't change the size or anything. Now if you want to change the size of it, you want to make it bigger, the order of the commands is very important. You see, I tell it the image I want, then I tell it the scale that I want to make it. I'm going to grow it 200%, and then the output file. Right, so convert the PNG dash scale 200%. EX3, the PNG, EOG, EX3, right? It's bigger.
Yeah.
And that's 100% of its size. So it's, yeah, it's about twice as big, right?
Double the pixels.
Yeah, double height, double the height, double the width. Yeah. It doesn't do anything to try to make it, smooth. I mean, you can see all it did was doubled everything.
Yeah,
right?
just double. Yeah, I mean the exact size.
Yeah.
44 by 626.
It doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. Had I done a much larger scale, it would just make the.
I'm sure there's an option for that though.
Well, there are some options for filters to use and stuff to try to Do that better. Now, see, we're only at 8%, so if we increase it up to
100%, yeah.
100%. Yeah, so we got some.
You can see the pixels.
Yeah. Anyway, you'd expect that, I guess, right? Okay, so the same thing. You can convert it much smaller, right? 50%, and it's smaller. So that's kind of the basics. It's really easy to resize an image. I used to go into GIMP all the time and then struggle with the menus to figure it out, because I swear every time I ran GIMP they changed the menus.
I think so too.
While I was looking, because I could never find it again. Anyway, so Imagemagick is awesome for that, but that's not all. Let's go do some thumbnails. There's not much more to show here, other than like I think Tom was saying, when Tony shrunk his images down to 600 by 800 or 800 by 600, they reduced in size somewhat. Well, if you wanted to make thumbnails, you could do that and reduce them quite a bit. What thumbnail will do is not only shrink it down, I'm saying, here's my geometry, here's how, I'm telling how small to make it, and I'll explain that in a minute. But not only is it gonna shrink the image down for me, it's gonna strip out most of the header information out of the image. You know, when you have an image, is it EXIF headers and stuff in the image?
Yeah.
That sometimes it'll have like your GPS coordinates of where you were when you did
For
it.
JPEGs, yeah.
For JPEG, okay. It'll have a comment in there about what kind of program created it, or which program created
Or
it.
camera.
Yeah, there might be a lot of stuff in there. When you convert it to a thumbnail, it'll strip that stuff out, reducing the size even more. Now, thumbnail is one of the commands that requires a geometry. If we go to thumbnail here, it's that one right there. It's -thumbnail space geometry. And geometry is an interesting little bugger. Geometry can have all these different formats. You can say scale, so I can want to make my images, I can say -thumbnail space 50%, that would just make them smaller. I can do a X scale and a Y scale, or it's actually scale -X, scale -Y, with an X in between. Right? You could just give a width, or you can just, because the width is the first thing, you can just specify width. The height is the second argument, so if you just give no width and an X and then the height, it'll do your height for you. So I'm basically saying, in my example here, make my thumbnail 90 pixels tall.
Okay.
Okay, 90 pixels height.
Does that keep the ratio for the width then too? Or is it just?
It will keep the aspect ratio correct. So it'll adjust the width to whatever it needs to, so that it doesn't be stretched or oblong or something like that, right? You can also specify a specific width and height. So if I wanted to, if I wanted to do keep my width the same as whatever it is, but change my height by half, I could make it all squishy, right?
Funhouse.
And then one of the things that Tony showed, shrinks an image with dimensions larger than the corresponding width and or height arguments. So what Tony was showing was an argument where he had 600 by 800 greater than. It will only resize it, or in this case thumbnail it, if the incoming image is bigger than 600 by 800. If it's not, it won't try to do any transformation on it at all. It'll just pass the file right through. So it'll copy the input to the output.
So if it's 420 by something, it probably wouldn't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it was 600 by 800 to start with, it would stay 600 by 800.
Okay.
Right. Because this is only, if the dimensions are larger than the corresponding width or height arguments, it'll do it. Shrinks an image if the dimensions are larger. Same thing if the dimensions are smaller. You do that, I suppose, if you wanted to grow an image. I guess. Let's see, resize image to have specified area and pixels. That's an interesting one. damn it, I want this thing to be 2 megapixels. You know, figure out from the input what it takes to make it two
What you want,
megapixels.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's the area, not the compression or anything else.
Yeah. Okay, and then there's some size offset stuff you can do with geometry too, and that's to offset the image. We're not going to go into that.
When you did that command to find out what the current one was,
Yes.
it showed that with the +0, yeah, they identified.
Yeah, because there was 0 offset.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
So while I'm processing, I could actually shrink it and move it within the image, so I could center it better or
Oh.
something if I wanted to.
Or move it to the bottom for some reason if you wanted to do that, or.
Yeah, if you wanted, sure. If you had something in there that made sense to move it to the bottom, if you had whatever the content of the image was, right? So anyway, my input file is 300 by 283. I'm going to do a thumbnail on it. Convert Michigan dash thumb. See that auto complete even knows that. We're going to do 90, and the output is going to be Michigan thumb. Mich. Okay, so that's the it's a smaller version.
90,
It's 90 pixels tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, 95 pixels wide, 90 pixels tall.
What did the original one look like?
That's 300 pixels wide by 283
Okay.
pixels tall. So yeah.
Wow.
So, like I said, if we wanted to, what did I say that was? We could change it to be 200 pixels wide by 100 pixels tall. It's gonna be
You're
squishy.
gonna change the aspect ratio, well.
Did 106 by 100.
Mhm.
So it kept the.
Oh, it kept the,
rate
it didn't use
aspect.
200, he said it did 106 by 100.
Really?
Let's play it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe Resize would have done it differently.
Because that's what the aspect, or the ratio is, right, 300 to basically 280.
Still does it. Width by height, yeah.
Do you need the
Still
exclamation point?
maximum. Oh, that's maximum values of the width and height, the aspect ratio per square.
If you do the bang, it says width and height emphatically given, original aspect ratio is ignored.
Where you see that?
Right above your cursor, right there, no, down.
One more down.
Yeah, followed by a bang.
Oh, right.
It says, do it now, damn it. I want it this way.
Yeah, I know what I want.
Yeah.
Damn it. Yeah, the problem is the shell.
Oh, it took that as a command.
Yeah, so what's it?
Backslash.
Backslash,
Yeah. Or in single quotes.
yeah.
That's gone. It's like Canada stepped on us. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, you can have all kinds of fun with that. That's it for that example. Okay. Buttons. Who creates buttons to put on their websites
All the time.
because they don't like the ugly, just plain old HTML buttons,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Or badges, have you seen,
Yeah, or badges or anything like that, right? Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to just comment out all the rest of them. Yeah, that's what I want, okay. So I'm going to show you the first version of the button. file called EX1. So we got a file called EX1. It's a very basic. It's just a red square, right? Not terribly exciting. Doesn't make much of a button. What I did there was I started with a blank image. Let me bring that up again. You can see some blank around the edge, right? I started with a blank image. That's the XC:"none. I said I want to make my fill color red. And I want to draw a rectangle from 1.1. That's the upper left corner. Actually, 0.0 is the upper left corner, right? And 95,31 is the lower right corner, because I said size 96 by 32. So I drew a rectangle just 1 pixel short all the way around. Right? That's pretty much what we have.
The XC said what? Don't copy? Is that?
I'm sorry?
The XC:"none?
XC:"none is that's my input image. XC is like a built-in. There's a bunch of built-in images in Imagemagick. There's some goofy ones. There's like unicorns and stuff. Yeah, be careful when you go in there. Anyway, I said I want to start with a blank image.
Oh, okay.
Because normally you're operating on an image. I would have to name an image file there, so that's what I did. It's the built-in no image.
Okay.
So anyway, I created a fill color. I set a fill color red. Then I drew a rectangle, and when it draws the rectangle, it fills it, whatever your fill color is. And I saved it as exe1.png. Okay, so now we get a little bit better, and we're going to. Let's see, run it. So now we should have an exe2.
You didn't save it?
Why do I do that every time? I swear I go to save it. I'm just having so much fun, I guess. Okay, so now my image is a little bit better, right? I needed to create lots of buttons for a project I'm working on where I had high-risk patients, and I needed a button. It wasn't even a button, actually. It's just an indicator that displayed on the screen that said high risk. So that's what that is, red with a yellow high risk. So it stands out. Everybody knows that patient is high risk. And by high risk here, that means they're at risk for cancer, because their genetic test came back and they're predisposed to have cancer. Anyway, you can see what we did here. We started with the same way. 9632, blank image, red, rectangle. Okay. Then I set my fill color to yellow, set my font to Helvetica, my point size to 18, and I drew some text. Starting at 6,22. That's the upper left corner of my text. And I told it to write high risk exclamation. Okay. It's not very fancy text processing here. If I wrote something longer than that, it would just extend out the end of the image. It doesn't wrap or anything like that. And I wrote a file called exe2. Okay, so let's go down to the next one. That's all, it's a nice looking image. You could use it as a button, but let's round the corners. It looks even better. We should have a 3, right? Yeah, 3. Okay, now it's got rounded corners. So easy that is? Do that in GIMP.
Eventually.
You can.
Yeah.
You can.
But get it to be at the space you want it, with 1 pixel around the edge of emptiness there. Yeah.
The centering of high risk in that,
Yeah,
is that just because it happened to?
because I told it,
Start at 622.
yeah.
Right, so you centered it yourself.
I ran the command and I saw it was offside.
And then you
So I
moved it back it up.
added or
Okay, I
subtracted.
understand.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there was a.
Yeah, okay. So now we're doing round rectangle. Okay? It's just like draw a rectangle, only you draw a round rectangle with the added parameter of the radius, and it's 6 by 6.
Oh.
It's a 6.
Pixel.
It's a radius 6 wide by 6 tall. So I don't know if it's a radius or a circle. I think it's a radius. Anyway, we can have obviously go to the, how do you tell Unity to not switch my view space to the next page if my browser is more than half on the next page? Craig?
Nicely.
Sorry?
Drives me nuts.
How do you cause it to not switch windows when you
That's
move?
why I use LXDE and Fedora.
Let's see, let's go back. What we want now is the draw command. Draw, that's in the D's, right? That's draw.
There you go.
And these are the things that you can draw: points, lines, rectangles, round rectangles. WCHC, it's probably the width from the center of the rectangle, or the center of the circle, and height of the width of the circle.
Must
height
be
of the
down
circle.
below there, right?
Sorry?
But if you scroll down,
Scroll down.
W and HC must be down.
Let's see, rectangle, round rectangle.
Followed
So there's
by the width and height
height
of-
and width of the corners, the rounded corners to be removed. So HC is the height of the corner and WC is the width of the corner. It's an interesting way to say it.
So that'd be like, this corner's being removed into this.
Right.
Because it's saying the part moved.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because you can
okay,
say,
so-
if you want it like 10 by 6, then it'll be more of a.
Okay,
It'll
so
go out
that's,
further
It'll
and
go
then
further out,
cut.
yeah.
right.
Like, that's
So
why,
you-
that's one place where GIMP comes in handy.
You said 6 by 6,
Right.
so that made it symmetrical, but if
Right.
you had said 10 by 6, it would have,
Yeah, it would have
Yeah.
been more like a.
right, yeah, okay, I
Okay.
got, no, I got it. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely gives you full control.
Yeah, see with GIMP, I have this, you got this nice ruler, and you can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe that's the 6th one.
Yeah.
Right. 4, 5, so yeah. Anyway. So that's a nice looking
Mhm.
button, right? But we can do better. Pretty sure we can. You ever display a red image or any kind of an image on a white background? They generally look okay. But you may not always be on a white background. What if you display it on a gray background that's like more than, closer to black than it is to white? The red kind of blends right in. It can be kind of hard to see. Or maybe you're displaying it on a red background. Then the red completely just blends right in. It's hard to see. So I like to put backgrounds around borders around my buttons. Right? Makes it look better. Right? It's a little pixelated as we grow, but it's all right. But see, nice border around it. I did that by first drawing a black round rectangle at my original size, and then drawing the red rounded rectangle, slightly smaller. Right? I went in 2 more pixels all the way around, and my radius on my rounded edge is slightly smaller. So it fits nicely into the black. The red fits nicely into the black. The radius around the corners still works pretty nice, and I think it looks pretty good. But we can do better.
Well, can this be translated to GIMP script foo?
Probably. I've never played with script foo in GIMP.
It seems like you're writing awfully long.
I am, but that's all right. All right. Finally, let's really throw some pizzazz into this thing.
So Convert's actually taking nothing and creating something out of it, right?
Yeah, out of thin air.
I have no image.
So Convert is a little bit.
Wrong name for the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wrong name for that command. Yeah.
Imagemagick.
Okay,
Right.
so now I've added some fancy schmancy stuff here. Actually, I called that one final. Okay, see what I did there?
Oh, yeah, some white.
Right. It's got some sort of
Like a glare on
shading. It's got lighting effects on it, sort of a little more 3D. It kind of actually looks like it on here. Blown up, it doesn't look that great, But if you put it on a regular web page, it actually looks like it rises out of the page a little bit. And there's a lot more you could do. There's some magic I'm doing in here. I basically take the image and I clone it. That creates another copy of the image. Imagemagick works on a stack. So I got this image that's on the stack, I do a clone and it creates another image that's at the top of the stack. I can do some operations on this image. I can turn off alpha, I can blur things, I can shade things. Normally, most of these things I don't have a clue what they do. I've kind of learned some of these things from stealing examples
You
from
can have the examples, yeah.
other sites. There's a bit of a roll, I think that's what gives it the kind of the rounded, slight feel to it. Then I clone it again to make another copy of that, and then you do a composite to like mash it back together. And then when you come out of the parentheses, now you're back working on the main image again. You do another composite. Compose in sets up the compositing, and then you do the composite, and that mashes what I did inside the parentheses with what I've got going on outside the parentheses.
Okay.
Mashes it down, and then finally I write my text on it, and I save it.
So could you save the parts in between so you could see what the different parts look like?
Well, I could stop at that point.
Okay, but you can't save multiple images, so you could see the different layers?
As far as I know, there's only one out.
Okay.
Right?
So you'd have to do it at different times?
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, we could start with this. You know, we've already done this much and saved it and seen it.
Right, yeah.
So then we cloned the image and did some effects on it, and we could stop right there, and you would just see without. Basically, at that point, it would be without the yellow writing. You really want to composite it together, or you're only going to get, I think, the top image off the stack. So anyway, that's
What is a PNG? Is that is it a bitmap?
portable network graphics. Is that
Yes,
what-
it is a bitmap.
It's
It was the replacement for GIF because
When GIF got-
CompuServe was starting to claim copyright, so they came out with
patent,
PNG.
yes, patent issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you did that fill and then you did another fill, you changed the size and you did another
Yeah,
fill.
yeah.
Does that double up the number of bytes in the file, or does it?
No, it just lay the.
Uh,
I think when you do the composite, actually, you don't even have to do the composite, but it just lays them on top. I think.
And so it's producing the fully rendered thing and not laying and overlaying and stuff like that. So-
It's not layers, if that's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Like GIMP, when you play with GIMP, you'd end up with an XCF file,
Right.
which is a whole bunch of, well, if depending on how you drew your image, you'd likely have a bunch of layers.
Right.
And then when you say you want to save it as a GIF or a JPEG, it asks if you want to flatten it, and that basically is what we're doing here. It
Okay,
flattens
so
fully
it's,
down.
okay, I understand, yeah.
Between all these images, is there a file size difference?
Oh yeah, each one that I did, you mean?
Yeah.
More bits, I would guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, the first one, just a red rectangle,
Oh, yeah.
not very much there. There's a lot more pixels in it than that, but PNG has some compression. It knows that it's,
Oh, yeah.
you know, in fact, a lot of that is probably header information. You can't see much from that. There's not much exciting in there. Let's see.
It's all right.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing I can do though. There's actually a way to get a whole lot more information out of it. That identify basically does what I just did there with info. Right. But there's a way to spit out all kinds of neat stuff. I just forget what the command is right now. So there's a lot going on right there that I don't understand. Actually, from there down to I understand the composite stuff, the clone and the composite is just branching off, creating new images, manipulating those images, and then smashing them back down and merging them back into one image. I'll give these files to Craig so we can put them up on the website if you all wanna research this stuff on your own, you wanna play with it at all. Anyway. Any questions on buttons?
So are you using this to like create buttons on the fly, or instead of storing the buttons? Or?
I used it to create buttons that I use in my system. I create the button, I throw it into my images directory, I commit it with SVN, and that's an image. That's a button now that I have in my system. But I keep the script around that I use because I'm always adding new buttons. And you ever go into GIMP and you create one button, and then you come back a month later and you want to create another button that's just like it, only different?
Yeah.
It ends up being way different.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know how you created it the first time.
So are you saving the
Here,
script along with
yes, I
it?
saved the script.
Right.
So I've got the script, so I can, the next time I do it, I just go in and I actually I have this very long script that has a bunch of these things commented out. And I just add a new one at the bottom, create my new button, that's just like one of the other buttons, only not quite.
You don't type 0 to 255 into PNM files?
I'm sorry? No. No, I don't do that. So yeah, I save the images. Once I create them, I just use them. I'm not generating the buttons on the fly yet. Like this thing I said is an indicator that shows up for a patient. We have attributes in our system. You can put an attribute on a patient, and you can attach an indicator icon to that attribute, and the indicators show up in our patient central screen.
Okay.
And I want to give the user the ability to create their own images, and it would probably have some Imagemagick in the background. So they could
It
at
would run
least,
that, right?
so they could at least say what color they want the button or the indicator, what color they want the text, and what text they want.
Yeah.
And then behind the scenes, I would use Imagemagick to generate that indicator.
Right.
So right now, they're going into Photoshop and creating buttons that look horrible.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing. Next month, they'll go create another button that looks nothing like what we created the first time. Photoshop and GIMP. That's the problem with those.
But the advantage with Photoshop is you can pay a lot of money for it.
Yes.
And keep paying for that.
Yes. Okay, so
Or you can pay $9 a month for it, or
so
$10
that's
a month for
buttons.
it.
Right.
Let's see, we covered
Yeah, the subscription
buttons.
version.
Oh, scan. Okay, let's do that. I do a lot of scanning of stuff in my system. Patient shows up at the front desk, and we need to scan their insurance card, their driver's license, and any written documentation they have, a health history form or a list of medications or whatever. So we scan things, and we use scanners. I actually have images of one. We have a page scanner that looks like that. No big deal, right? Got one of those sitting at every desk, at every check-in station. It scans front and back. You just slide a piece of paper in it, and it shoots it right out, and it scans both sides. And we also use a scanner that's like this. It's a little tiny scanner. You could stick your insurance card in and push the button, and it spits it out the back. And while you did it, it scanned it. That doesn't scan both sides, but there are some newer scanners that will scan both sides at the same time. Anyway, that's the kind of scanners we're using. A common problem we have, though, is they scan a sheet of paper. Let's say somebody brings a list of medications written down on it. They scan it. We're going to scan both sides of the page, right? Which means we're going to end up with one side that looks just like that, right? Because the back side, there's nothing written on it.
Yeah.
Right? So I need to detect that. And the way you detect that is pretty simple. Imagemagick has a cool command. Let me show you. There's a cool command to just trim something. So I could take like, let's go back to this 800 PNM PNG. I can take that and I could trim the white space around the edge real easily. I can shrink that thing down real easily. We can just say convert, let's see, input files 800 and PNG dash trim and my out file. All right, see that? It figured out where the edge of that document was. Right? There's some non-white in there. Okay. But try that, the same command on my blank page. No, my blank page. And it comes up kind of weird, right?
It's a lot smaller.
It was folded.
Yeah.
Fold.
All right. No, there's a command called fold that we ran on it.
No, I'm saying there's some,
No,
probably some pixels.
it's this edge.
Oh, it's a raw edge.
Right. You almost always get that from a scanner. It could be, the edge of the paper might have been crinkled a little bit, but even if it's not, you ever use a flatbed scanner and you scan something, you always get that little bit of crap around the edge, right? Dust on the glass or whatever. You always end up with that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, figured this out. This example. This basically is the example of how to deal with that. Okay? And let's go into that.
Shave.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things going on in here that I knew at one time and are a little fuzzy yet. Basically, though, you run your convert on your input file, you separate it into that turns it into a grayscale image. Now, all the documents that I deal with that I have to scan in, I just want black and white. I don't care about colors. When you start playing around with grayscale and thresholds and stuff, kiss your colors goodbye. Anyway. If you're just trying to do blank page detection, because I'm not really producing any output here other than information about the file, you can even do this on a color document. So anyway, I separate it to make it grayscale. Threshold 30%. What that means is any color that's within 30% of being white, make it white.
Well, that's cool.
Okay? And then you combine the grayscale layers back together again, I think. Then the shave. What we're going to do is trim 5% off all the way around the edge of the document so that we lose the rough edges, right? The fuzz 10%, I don't remember what.
Seems strange.
Yeah. Let's go back to
Maybe it's
this.
recognizing the fuzz.
I don't remember exactly what that did. I looked it up earlier today, but fuzz. Colors within this distance are considered equal. So I said 10%.
Yeah.
See, then what was the other one that I did? Threshold 30% is a similar command. Threshold.
We had it.
There it is.
Apply simultaneous black-white threshold to the image. Oh, what that does is it tries to take the image and look at that image and figure out, are you black or are you white? Every pixel on it. And it'll make all the black, it'll anything that's in between, it'll pick whether it thinks it's black or it thinks it's white. Like if it sees gray on there, it's got a decision to make. And that 30%, I think, tells it lean towards the white. So I think you do all those things, and you end up with an image that's really just black or white. Just the pixels are either black or white, and that's it. And then you do a trim on it, so it'll trim out all the outline of white, right? And then you have to repage it. I think that repage. Let's see. I actually have it down here. Change the size of the canvas to match the size of the image. Okay, that's important. You have an image and it sits on a canvas. All these trim and things, I think they just play with the image itself, they leave the canvas alone. When you do the repage, that makes the
Regrows it.
canvas equal. It doesn't grow the image, it shrinks the canvas
Okay.
to match the image. Okay? So, if we do that, convert blank page, dash separate, dash threshold, 30%, dash combine, dash shave, 5% by 5%. And that's just a geometry setting. We could I think, specify other things for the shave. Dash fuzz, 10%, dash trim, plus repage. And then I'm using this built-in thing just called info, which causes it to spit out information about the image. And that's what it spits out. This, I wasn't able to get rid of, when I'm using this in production with an older version of Imagemagick, and I don't get this warning. Let me make it just a little bit wider here. Okay. It spits out this information. The name of the file is blankpage.gif. It's a 1x1. An empty image is a 1x1. So all I have to do now is look for that 1x1 in my processing. If I have an image after it's gone through this process, if I have an image that's 1 pixel by 1 pixel, I can assume it's a blank page.
Sure.
So I can throw that page away.
Sure.
I don't need to store it in my database. There's no interesting information on that.
What's your script look like again?
Grab
Okay.
Basically, if it spits out some output. Now, for some reason, this newer version of Imagemagick is giving me this warning about, I'll show you here. Geometry does not contain image, blank image. It's like there is no image because I've shrunk it down to nothing. And I mean, yeah, obviously I could get rid of that warning by saying 2 greater than null. Right. Basically, if I pipe this through grep, space, 1 times 1 space, right? If it spits something out, I have a 1x1 image. If it doesn't spit anything out, then I don't have a 1x1 image, which means I don't have a blank page. So that's how I detect blank pages. That's how I don't store blank pages in my database. And I get a lot of them, right? And a blank page still takes up space.
This page intentionally left blank.
Yeah, thank you.
That wouldn't be blank.
Yeah. But I mean, look, even this blank page is 6K, almost 6K in size. Right? I don't need a bunch of those littering up my database.
Needs up the compression.
What's that?
Needs up the compression.
Yeah, because these things are compressed anyway. So it's not going to get any smaller in the database.
But you lose the metadata. You lose the metadata.
Yeah. Anyway. Let's see, that's
really cool.
yeah. So 2 things. I try to trim my images to get rid of all the white crap around them and save that, because there's no point. You know, if somebody gives you a handwritten list of medications, you don't need to store the whole 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Yeah, with the 3 lines.
And oftentimes, it's not even an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, right? It's a napkin or a scrap of paper that they've scribbled down their list of meds on. And you scan that in, why don't you just store the interesting part, not all the white space?
That's great.
Right?
If they had lined paper,
That would be a problem.
does that fool us? And it,
Well, a lot of times the lines are so faint that they're gonna.
that
they
you've
might fall
eliminated
within
them
the-
with your
Does
fuzz
Does it
and
fall within a 30%
threshold?
threshold or the 10% fuzz?
Right.
I mean, it's kind of dark on this page, but,
Make doodles and out the
Those would
corners.
probably stay.
yeah, because this is white paper too,
Yeah.
so it's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, you know, you can't tell them to write their meds on plain white paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rewrite it, they put it on line paper.
Also,
rewrite it.
there's 2 scanners I showed you. They give me files that are TIFFs. I'm not playing with PNGs and GIFs and stuff. I got these enormous TIFF files.
Yeah.
And a TIFF is like 3 bits for every pixel, I think, because it's or 3 bytes for every pixel
Probably 3 bytes.
because of the color, because of RGB and
Like BMPs.
Is that how BMPs work too?
Yeah.
I get TIFFs from that page scanner of over 1 megabyte in size. Last thing I want to do is store that,
Mhm.
right? So in my processing, I converted to a I think we're saving them as GIFs.
I thought TIFFs allowed LCW compression.
That doesn't do much.
TIFF has an awful lot of formatting options or attributes for things like that. But I didn't want to store it as TIFF.
No, I agree.
Plus, what do you do with the TIFF? You can't display it in the browser,
Nope.
right? The browser won't understand it. I really want to do something.
Send it as
that's-
a fax, that's about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if you are gonna send it as fax, you gotta convert it to TIFF anyway.
Yeah, that's what I mean, so it's.
Well, you don't necessarily have to. Somewhere along the line, it's gonna get converted to TIFF
Yeah.
before it hits the fax stuff. So yeah, I take that massive file from the scanner. When I first started working on this scanning stuff and storing these documents for the customer, I was like, oh man, we're in trouble. They're gonna run out of space real soon. Because the size of these things. And what's funny, this is a mammography clinic. They do X-rays, and each woman that comes through there, the images they take are 300 to 400 megabytes. Wow. So here I'm playing with a couple of K here and there, worried about it. And for every person that runs through their office, and if they do a 3D or an MRI, it could be gigabytes per person, and they see 360 to 400 patients a day. So you can imagine their storage needs. I think
64
right now-
gig flash.
Yeah,
SD
yeah, they just run down to Best Buy and pick up another one. No, currently I think their storage network is about 80 terabytes, but
Wow.
it's growing fast. And they need an off-site copy of that stuff too.
So there's some cloud that goes up to.
It's not a cloud; it's just a remote building with a server in it and storage in it, and a 100 megabit pipe, and it's busy all the time.
Wow.
But it beats their old way of doing things with real X-rays in file folders that have
Yeah.
that go into a rack
Rooms with
somewhere
right.
that have no backup at all.
Right, there's a fire, yes.
Right. And if somebody happens to have that image out on their desk, that X-ray out on their desk, somebody else can't get it. So, electronic, digital is the way to go. Okay, so that's scanning. One more thing that.
Yeah, but if a hacker goes into their thing, they can't get everybody's all patient information and everything.
But this is true. This is true. It's maybe a little more secure, the old way, but there are certainly benefits to the new way.
There's prying eyes in the
Okay.
old way.
So one more thing that we can play with a little bit. I played a little bit with animations. There's so much you can do with
You gotta be more
animations that I
careful.
didn't have time to get into it. I'm not doing anything with animations for my own stuff, other than I have a throbber in my system, but I didn't create. I could have created it with Imagemagick. You know what a throbber is,
Yeah.
right? You go to a website, and you got a little spinning thing that says "I'm busy, please
Oh.
be patient."
I hate those.
Or
It's
the
better than
bar,
nothing.
The bar, yeah.
Well,
I
just sitting there
sometimes
waiting.
want, I actually don't think so, because I look at that, I go,
Oh.
is that just an animation, and is my system really doing something or
That's
not?
well, that's an
Well, I think
animation.
it'll go on, and the problem is if the system goes down and never responds.
It'll keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
Yeah.
That's running locally, yeah.
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 Yeah, but the
But
problem with
the
doing nothing
alternative-
is that people keep hitting it.
Well, the
every day.
alternative is to keep hitting the server
Yeah.
to ask if it's still alive, and then
No, you
rotate.
say a percent done, or you say,
If you can know that, right? Can you know the percent done
No.
on everything? No. Let's say
Or
I'm
you-
processing a big image
so you
thing
move
using
it up.
Imagemagick, and it takes 10 minutes to process.
or at least you know
How
that
many
you have
percent done
a
is it?
keep alive that says that I am still connected to the server is actually doing something.
Sure.
Instead of simply, it died, but I'm never going to tell you, so you're gonna sit here waiting for 2 hours, waiting for the thing to end, and it will never end.
Those are worst case scenarios. In general, I like to have a throbber so people know that they shouldn't be expecting output right now.
Well, if they click it, it's doing something, yeah, so,
Right, it's feedback.
yep.
Okay, so we can create an animation using Imagemagick, and all an animation is a series of images stuck together in one file with a delay on it and some other interesting commands. So I created a couple of images. I started with nothing. I said fill blacks. The stroke width is not working, and I haven't quite figured out why. But I'm drawing a line from the upper left corner to the lower right corner, and that's EX1, so EOG EX1. Not very exciting.
Yeah, slash. Back.
That's it. Okay. Then I draw another line, basically from 15 pixel, that's about the halfway point, the top, to 15 at the bottom.
So straight up and down.
Yeah. Again, not terribly exciting. All right, pretty much what you'd expect. And then I did one from the upper right corner to the lower left corner. And finally, I did a horizontal, right? From halfway up or halfway down, all the way across.
Okay.
Right? Stick them all together. And I was doing some experimenting here. I found that obviously you have to have the delay. That tells it how long to wait between frames.
And what's the?
The dispose tells it throw away the previous image before displaying the next one.
What's the 25 represent?
Oh, 25 is
1 second.
100 is 1 second.
Okay.
So it's
Hundredths of a second.
yeah, hundredths of a second, which is kind of weird because it seems like in computers you're always dealing with
Milliseconds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but those are bigger numbers for no reason in most cases.
yeah.
A Linux tick is 10 milliseconds.
In fact, they say ticks in the 10 milliseconds is 100th of a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they said ticks in the document for the delay command,
Mhm.
so I guess it's Linux ticks. So both of these produce the same thing, whether I have, I don't need dispose background after each image.
Oh, right, because the background of all of them's the same.
Yes. But anyway, you can see I can run final. See it go?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that exciting? Okay. It's not much of a throbber, but it doesn't take much to go past this, right? You can do an awful lot. If I run the other one, same thing, only faster because I said 10 instead of 25.
Mm-hmm.
So there's our animation, right?
Cool. Yeah, it's real simple, really.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Oh, another important thing. Dash loop 0. You got to have that in there, or that'll cause it to go back to the top. It's like go to begin, right? Without that, it'll run the four images and stop. Makes for a
Right on,
annoying,
Is zero the line of the?
no, I think it's
Number of times to loop, and then,
no, it's maybe it
and
is.
zeros on.
I would
the
assume it's the image number.
No, I would
I would think
It
if you
wouldn't
go.
know anything about the image names, right? I mean,
Yeah, let's try this. I bet it'll.
it'll go around 3 times. It's probably 0 is unlimited.
Oh, maybe.
2, 3.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah, good call.
0 is unlimited. So.
Yeah.
Oh, the number of repeats, how many times it does the whole loop?
Yep.
0 means infinite.
Yep.
Yeah. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really easy. And it really make this.
We had a log.
It's easy if you know what you're doing.
Well, yeah,
Right? It's one of those things. If you don't know what you're doing,
But I mean, GIMP was never anything in it was easy for me. This makes sense where you can grasp it.
oh yeah, yeah.
And not have to be a graphic artist to know.
And it's reproducible.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
that too. Yeah.
That's, for me, that's the best, right?
Yeah.
Okay, under usage, there's some cool examples. There's all kinds of stuff here. Anyway, animation basics. they got they got some images like this, right? They're doing star effects.
Oh, wow.
This thing, but anyway, there's some that don't seem to work. Those, not terribly exciting.
Are those some of the built-in images in Imagemagick?
Yeah, yeah.
Medical?
Yeah.
Oh, the medical,
Oh, yeah.
logo.
Right
That
there.
thing, the staff and, what is it, staff and face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. No, these are not built-ins. These are actually files that they used.
Oh.
Anyway, there's one down here that I liked. It's down here somewhere. Oh, that was kind of neat. If you wanted to do like a signature or something,
Oh, yeah.
show it being signed. I thought that was kind of slick. That would be quite a bit of work to do. You'd have to.
Replicate.
You'd probably draw the
And
final
start
one.
taking it away.
Yeah, start taking things away. Erasing bits. You're obviously not going to draw that in Imagemagick,
Oh, yeah.
right? I would use GIMP or something for that to kind of draw freehand on a tablet or something, and then
Start with that.
and then
dip.
start erasing. Looks like that's what they're doing. Kind of erasing pieces of it. So, anyway, these I don't know what they're doing here, but it didn't produce anything interesting.
That's how they created the cake, right?
Oh, maybe that's maybe that's what they're doing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Anyway. These, I think they're just telling us something about them. Where's the good one? Oh, that was kind of neat. It kind of creeped me out the first time I saw it.
That's pretty sweet.
Oh, this one. If you want to do one of those.
Oh, geez.
Oh, Microsoft.
I'd much rather have it spend its time actually copying than show me
Yeah, I couldn't agree
it's
more.
copying. But it's a throbber, right? There you go.
Oh,
I like that one.
I mean, really, you could do a movie.
that's only 4 pixels, 4 pictures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's pretty
Keep still going.
neat. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
That
And
is
this,
cool.
they just laid it over grass. And I swear, the first time I saw it, the grass was moving.
Your eyes
Well, it
were,
could be.
Yeah.
You could make it wave.
Yeah. If you wanted to do a movie with any kind of frame rate using Imagemagick, the file would be enormous, and it would take forever.
Then you use MPEG to convert it,
Yeah,
or GStream or something.
yeah. But there's a lot of animated GIFs on the internet now. You go to a lot of sites, and it's animated
It's
GIFs.
become a thing again.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Just like it seems like in the last
Well,
year
I
or
think
so.
what it is that it's a quick and easy way to embed video on the internet.
Without worrying about codecs and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Even the fave icons have become.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can create fave icons. Anybody create fave icons for their
Done a couple
for their
times.
websites?
Yeah.
I've tried, but I've always had problems doing it, like it pixelates when.
Do you have any
other
examples?
ones
Well,
actually don't
it's only what,
pixelate.
14 by 14 or something. It's a
Yeah.
weird
16 by 16
Is that what it
and
is?
it's in .ico format.
Yes, Imagemagick will create an ICO format,
Is there an example?
but there's not much you can do in 16
16
pixels.
pixels, yeah.
It amazes me some of the things people do.
Yeah, like our site has the penguin, you can actually see what it is.
Yeah.
Even though
In
it's so
16
small.
pixels.
Yeah, on the
Well,
Mog
it's,
site.
there's
Yeah.
aliasing
Yeah.
and stuff, but it's not a lot of room to
No,
show.
to do shading and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Yeah, I think we started the image off the end.
I'm sure we did.
Mine, that's my fave icon for Avaris, for our software. And that's about the
Simple,
best I could
yeah.
do.
Yeah, it's simple, and it gets pointed.
Well, it distinguishes it from other things. But, there's some amazing, even, Google Mail does. Gmail, and Google, they somehow make it look pretty good.
They got people that, they pay a lot.
Yeah, they got people
Pixel
doing it.
artists.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway. That's That's the extent of my portion of the talk. Wow, it's 8:15 already.
Yep.
Any questions?
I got one, but if it's gonna take too long, you don't have to explain it now. When you were talking about changing the size of images or trimming,
Yes.
like you did, I've got actually a project right now where we've got a bunch of images of cars. Some of them have a banner across the top that we want trimmed out of it. Okay, because it says seller's photo or something.
Yeah.
And not all the pictures have it. So is there a way with this to logically look at something that's in there and say, if this is here, cut off, 100 pixels off the top?
Is there something about that banner that you could distinguish it from the rest of the image? Are they all the same color?
They have a red background and they say the word sellers, but that's
Well, you can't
probably-
really detect the word
No,
sellers,
it's
but
probably
maybe you
not-
could.
It's probably text,
Here, you
or
want
not
this?
text. But I didn't know if there's logic, like you'd say, if.
Can you say if there's like red, like solid red in the first
You
like
could,
3 pixels?
you could pull out a chunk of that image.
Okay,
Right? And then you'd be able to,
like you're saying, if the first 3 lines, if the background's red.
yeah, you could pull out a chunk of that image and then Imagemagick doesn't really have if statements in it.
Okay.
But you could, I don't know what you.
Oh, is there a way to get these, the identity of that, and would it tell me that the background's red? Maybe, somehow? Or the RGB of it or something?
Yeah, there's,
Well, that's giving me some ideas anyway to play with it, so.
yeah.
Because the problem is they don't want to just cut all the images. They only want to cut the ones that have banners on top. So, and some of these
Wouldn't it be nice
cars.
if it was automated?
Pardon me?
If it was automated.
Well, and I'm pulling the pictures down off the server onto our web server, so it's quicker. So when I do that, I could just cut it at that point. And then it's only doing it once, it's not doing it while the customer's waiting.
Are those RS-232 ports on the back?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
sorry, Craig.
That's all right.